Wait, look at camera.
Blow me out. Good afternoon and welcome to the Flooring Models Live Lockdown Show. Here we are with you on Tuesday, the 19th of January 2021. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
Very well. Yeah, all right, thank you.
Very good. Can somebody in live chat, if you can possibly tell us a quick sound check, because we're not too sure what levels. Are we quiet? Are we loud? Can you hear us okay? Because obviously we had a few problems on Saturday with me being a bit quiet, so I don't know if that's been fixed. So off you go.
We've been messing around before we came on, haven't we? So hopefully it should be okay.
All good here.
Oh, right. Okay, so perhaps we're good. Sound is good. Because I've changed the battery on my microphone, so perhaps that's what it was.
Oh, right, okay.
I was a bit quiet, so that seems to be perfect sound. Oh, well, there you go. That's that done. All okay.
Yeah,
Everyone's saying it's good. Good. Sorry, it's obviously my battery was dying on my mic because I've got one that's like USB powered, weirdly, on one Rode mic, but the old-fashioned one still takes a battery. So, yes, good job. Okay, we're all fine and good and dandy. So, anyway, nice weekend, everyone.
Yeah. So just about to say, we were chastising Matt for not having a new battery in his mic the other week.
Yes, you were.
Yes. That's the only trouble, I must admit, because obviously I've got two Rode microphones. I've got the new modern one, which is like USB powered. So you charge it USB, but it's running on phantom power anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. And then I've got this one, which is the old-fashioned one, which is doing it. And the reason I have to have two mics is so one mic, the boys can hear me in Skype because it's using that one, and then you guys are on the other microphone. So it does get a little bit confusing. That's why sometimes we have this thing where they can hear me fine, and obviously you guys at home weren't. And I think that's what the trouble was. So anyway, good job.
Good.
Good. Anyway, we trust you enjoyed the show. If you didn't see it, we did a live stream on Saturday because we were bored and couldn't keep away from you guys, so we decided to do it. So anyway, the good news is the masking is complete. For the guys who watched us on Saturday, you will know I was doing this. And I've loved every minute of it. No, I'm lying. I've hated it. Anyway, it is starting to take shape a little bit. So if I just change my camera angle to one like this, as you can see, so this is done now. This has got our patchy work on here. Obviously, it's going to have another coat yet, so it'll be 3 coats. But that's the main body done. And we've got these sorted out and done. So this is in here. And this one is sorted and done. And then again, we've got, obviously, these need to be painted yet. So once these get painted, we'll all be good to go. And then hopefully by, I'm thinking, end of the week, we should be there. Because the next load of joy of fun, now we've done and got rid of this load of fun, which was not. Now we can focus on this load of fun.
Yeah, so, that's just normal decals, though. That shouldn't be that bad, sure.
No, it shouldn't. It's just trying to get straight lines straight is always not easy, is it?
No.
So, but anyway, it should be good. So these are all going to be the next stage onto this one. So this is going to have a light rub over, going to give it a very light sanding with some very fine sandpaper, just to take the edges off of obviously all the masky bits and everything. And then it will have a dull coat right the way over it and all the rest of it. We'll get the decals on and then it'll be into weathering. And again, we can get this one painted. But as I say, it gives you an idea. Once it's had, this one's had like a dull coat over it, or a dullish coat. And it just mutes it all back a little bit, keeps it quite subtle. So that's the plan with that one. So anyway, it's getting there. Am I enjoying it?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want me to lie?
No. Tell us the truth.
I need a mask. Yeah, where's my little coat? And you can go, yes, I'm loving every minute of it. So, yeah. It's one of those. It'll look fine when it's done and look great and all the rest of it. Would I do another one? Probably not. Anyway, all good stuff.
Not with tiles, anyway.
Yes, Aztec they call it.
Aztec tiles, isn't it? Something.
Yes, yeah. Aztec pattern and all the rest of it. So yeah. Anyway, it's fine. It'll be all right.
Probably, if it's not your subject, then it takes a lot to keep you going. If you're not enjoying it, if it was Star Wars and you didn't enjoy it, you'd probably still be enjoying it. Well, that makes sense.
Again, I think what it is, it's just that thing. It doesn't seem to end, if that's the main thing. There's no light at the end of the tunnel when you're doing it. Like, for instance, when I was doing these and then you had to put these rear ones all in individually by hand, it just seemed to take forever. Then obviously this is all, I've hand done this. This isn't the way they were showing because, yeah, I just don't see how that works particularly well. So I've done this by hand, which was quicker. But at least when you were doing these, you're sort of working round. So
I'll be
you're
backing them out, posted
okay,
here.
so you're working round in a circle. So that way you can actually see how much you've got to do. But when you're doing these types of shapes, it's very time consuming, very, very boring. But anyway, definitely light at the end of the tunnel, thank God. But it's one of those, like I was saying to the guys on Saturday, if I don't push through and I don't get on with it, it probably would have turned into a bit of a shelf queen. So I would have started my next project and probably pushed on a lot harder with that than coming back to this. So that's why I've decided we're going to do this one and finish this week and get it done for this month so it's all out of the way. And then I can start on the helicopters and be in my element again, really. But then otherwise, I'll just never come back to doing this. So yes, that's the problem with that one. But hopefully we're all okay, good to go now. Anyway, we trust everybody in live chat is all fine. You see you're all in there. Everyone seems to be good and proper in there. So yes, all good. Everyone seems okay. Everybody good in chat. Afternoon to everybody who's on with us. A couple of housekeeping things just to mention, just to get this off my chest. I'm not going to turn into rant mode, honestly, I promise. EU accounts for Flory Models. As obviously everybody knows now, and if you haven't, where the hell have you been? We cannot take on EU members to Flory Models. And to be honest with you, this morning, whilst doing a bit of this, I've also been on my accountant and we've been discussing it and going through things, but also I've just paid the last MOS bill, which is the VAT. So obviously for different countries around Europe, some of you are like, 20%, some of you are 27%, 25% for different VATs. We have to pay all of those, you see. But at the moment we use what's known as a MOS system, which is a one-stop. I pay my government then pays all of you lot. But obviously now we're not in the EU, that has ceased. And obviously the cost of setting it up and doing it through other countries, it's not viable for us to actually do it. So what we actually did back in December is that we made all current EU members free. Okay, and it's something that I did and set up. The one thing I asked you guys to do though was that if you're a annual subscriber and you pay yearly, was to let me know just before your subscription was due to renewal, so I could actually make sure it was taken off, because all the monthlies is very straightforward. I just look at the last month and then move you all. But obviously all the annual ones, they could be any time. But I don't want to cancel people later on in the year, because otherwise we might get this sorted by then, and that way you'd have to set up another subscription and all things like that. So I just simply said, if you're due within like 2 weeks, to let me know. And to be honest, some of you have, and like Mike, he messaged me today and said in 2 weeks time mine's up for renewal, so I've actually cancelled his subscription and then I've made him a free member on Flory Models. The trouble we've got though is that I could get in serious trouble. In fact, I could get fined, I could get all types of problems, which I really don't want to get if one of your subscriptions slips through, because then I have to technically pay the VAT on it, which could cost me hundreds, at least 600 quid to pay one, which is ridiculous. Okay, so that's why I need to know, and it really, really is important. I'm giving you a free subscription. The least you lot can do is let me know. Okay, so what's going to happen now is, because I've had a few today that have gone through and I've had to go and manually do it and check each and every single one, is that if you don't tell me, you will have your account deleted, because I'm just going to blanket delete them all. Okay, because again, it's not fair on me, because I'm the one who's going to get the fine, technically the bill for it. It could literally run into 1,200 quid. I worked it out. If one person gets through, it could cost me 1,200 quid, which is ridiculous. Okay, so from that point of view, from now on, you guys need to tell me if you're due to renew within the next 14 days, let me know. Okay, if it's past that, don't worry about it, because we might have it sorted by then. But if we haven't, within 14 days, I need to know that it's due, so I can get you cancelled and I get you moved over to the free area. Because otherwise, what's going to happen, now he's moved that now.
I have not touched it.
You have? So the thing is, what will happen is that as of now, if you don't tell me and yours comes through and I have to manually delete you, you'll be deleted from the site, which means you can't get back in. So I'm just warning everybody, fair warning on this one, because again, it's not really fair on me, and all you've got to do is literally check your subscription date and go through from that and let me know. That's it, you're fine, that's fine.
No, chop my head off.
That's it, you're in now. Cool. Right, okay, that's enough of all that stuff. We're all good apart from that. So yes.
Just to reiterate, that's only for EU members, not anybody else.
Only people in the EU, and that does include Southern Ireland. So that's it. So honestly, it would help me out because I don't really want to have a fine and all the rest of it. But obviously, if we can get this sorted, we don't have any problems. As I said before, if you're a current subscriber to Flory Models, I will pay for you to stay here. That's not a problem. But I said I can't do it unless you tell me. So definitely. So there we go. Anyway, are we all good? So what's news? Anything gossipy wise
We've
from
got
PM?
the pre-orders done. That's what we've been doing past 2 days. So Aria GR3s, AV8s, Tiger Moths, Panzer 3s. Because obviously last week with the snow, I was stranded and we didn't get deliveries. So basically, me and Andy literally yesterday was at it all day, sorting and boxing. Ospreys as well. I think you've got some Ospreys to invoice, and then they'll go. But yeah, it's just been ordering, and you're going to do a bit of a stock thing, aren't you, next couple of days? So. As in for new, nothing, mate. Quiet. Just general stocky stuff, really. Nothing exciting, new release-wise, is there? Apart from I've just seen that the Special Lobby 32nd Whirlwind, Westland Whirlwind, has come up on the site. Not got a price for it, but obviously that's going to be sometime coming if they can get it out of Europe, which is the problem.
Good luck. Yes.
Coming to a pre-order near you.
Yeah.
Cool.
But, we'll go over this tomorrow on the PM show. So
yeah, no problem. Good job. Okay, so anyway, being Tuesday, it is Q&A day, so we've got a few questions, not many, and then what we'll do, we'll throw it open to the live chats and they can chuck in questions. Okay, so the first one is from Andrew, who says, hi Phil, I've just tried lacquer paints or Tamiya acrylics thinned with lacquer thinners through my iWater Neo for the first time, which works fine apparently. I wanted to ask, after painting, if you can do the detail painting with acrylics. For example, when I do a tank and attach the tools before painting, they get covered by the main coat. Yeah, as long as it's totally dry, you're absolutely fine. No problem at all. That's it. Don't worry. Everyone gets hung up about lacquers and acrylics. If they're dry, you'll be fine at the end of the day, isn't it? As long as they're completely cured, you'll have no problem. The only thing that could ever happen, if you've got an acrylic coat, so say you're working on something like this and you've done it in acrylics underneath, all right? If you was to go over it with perhaps gloss white lacquer and you flood it really wet, it could react and start to melt basically the black coat underneath, and it could leach up and it would come up into your white coat. That's the only thing you'd have to be careful with. But if you're putting it down, it's totally dried and you're not flooding it on really wet, just a normal coat, sensible coat, you'll be absolutely fine with it. Should be good. Because to be honest, this is lacquer paints and this is lacquer on the bottom and it's lacquer on the top, because although it's acrylic Tamiya like X2 and X1, it's lacquer thinners, but it's rapid drying thinners, and I've had no bleed through and eat through, even though the last coat on top was a very wet one to give it a nice glossy finish, but the rest of it, no problem at all.
The only one to look out for, which I know we've mentioned before, is Mist Hobby Aqueous. If you're painting that down and then you go over with a gloss coat over the top of it, if it's not dry, again, if it's dry, it's no problem. But it sometimes feels like it's dry and it's not, and then you get crazy. But we've mentioned it enough times before, haven't we?
Yeah, I think also as well, rapid thinners is now my new best friend. Because honestly, when you look at this is rapid thinners with gloss, and it's very, very glossy.
Yeah.
It's not flat or anything else like that. So it doesn't kill it, if you know what I mean. It's not like you think rapid thinners would turn everything matte. It doesn't. So, and also the thing is, it does dry really, really quickly. So it does do what it says on the tin. So yes, but no. In other words, Andrew, carry on. You'll be absolutely fine. Patrick says, hi Phil, last Friday during the live show, you were showing your stash and stuff, and on top of the black cabinet I saw a green skinned figure. Can you show it in close up? I was wondering what it was. This was Pixie's Gamora. Oh, that's fallen off the back. Okay, which is her. Which, to be honest, she took all her stuff when she left, but she did leave Gamora behind. So that's Gamora, you thought. So yes, I can't remember what it was. It was a resin figure that somebody sent up. But yeah, she did do there was a video on that at some point somewhere. Yeah. Okay, Andy, who's done a text. Hi Phil, loving the videos, etc. And as you mentioned on Saturday, keep ignoring the keyboard warriors. They are a very small minority. I know, and they're even on the forum. Okay. I came back to the hobby last year after many years, after stumbling across one of your shows, and I'm looking for some help and advice on sanding using sanding sticks. I've had issues recently with a couple of my builds where they've been a serious step in a place on the fuselage of joining the two halves. I do possess a scraper, but sometimes even a scraper is not appropriate. And even after using the scraper, you need to sand, which you do. I couldn't find anything specifically in the tutorials. That's because you're not looking. Right. In tutorials, so if you go to tutorials, we have here, and then if you go into the tools type one, and then if you go to here, there's a big one called sanding and filling. And in here, I just do that and then that. There's one all about how to sand out steps in here. Okay, so that it's not a newish video. It's a couple of years old now, but it is literally how I sand and seam, and obviously we go through the different grits and the different. I do 45-degree sanding, and everything, and then obviously right the way through. Then we talk about obviously polishing, so using different sanders for different effects, and wet polishing there, so spitting on the sander. Probably not hygienic in these days of COVID, but that's what that is. And then polishing. So we go through and we polish all the seams so they're nice and glossy and no problem at all. And I was obviously having a bad hair day there, literally. I've been sheared. So yes, and I think that's about it in there. So yeah, that talks all literally about your sanding and your bits and pieces in there. So you can have a look in there. And again, to be honest with you, I talk about it doing this one as well, because obviously on the top here, it's really noticeable. And there was quite a large step that ran between these two. And obviously we had seam lines because these are panels which bolt on. So we had seam lines along here. It's like a V shape up. And then hopefully you can see in here, let me go in. Oh, sorry, wrong camera. We don't have anything whatsoever. There's no sign of any seams or joins, which was obviously always my little worry, but she is absolutely fine on there. And again, so I talk about this one, we're using a scraper, and then literally we come in and we sand and we polish out the seams to make sure they're seamless, which actually does work well. The Aztec breaks it up, so it probably wouldn't see them anyway. But yeah, so have a look at this video, and then obviously I think you go on to say about the VC10 as well. So the VC10 is exactly the same. There's lots of videos in there that talk about sanding, when to build up and when to sand back. So the VC10 build, because obviously that's a real filler queen. Yeah, that's a good one to watch because there's lots of different things talking about sanding flat. And then obviously we used a lot of resin and we used CA glue, like super glues and stuff like that as filler to do quick filler jobs in different little areas and perspectives and building up. So yes, quite a good one.
I think paraphrasing this, he just wants to know what order to use the sanders in.
It's just working through your grits then, as you'll see. Have a look at that video to say about it. So you start off with, like, I start off with coarse to take off the step, okay? So that will take down the step completely. But then you've got to work out, do you need to build up or do you need to take away? That's, you know, something we talk about in that video. And then obviously just work through your mediums to your fines to your polishers. The only time you really need to polish is to seam check it. Because if you polish it, you'll get the high gloss finish and you can see it. Very, very noticeable if you've got anything left over. So, yes.
Practice, isn't it? It's practice and experience, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Like everything in the hobby, really. But yeah, it's definitely practice and just learning the products. Because again, it's all right. I mean, you can advise so far, but you really got to do it yourself to figure it out so it sticks with you in your brain, sort of thing.
I find the more you do practice and you try and get the seams, you know, you're taking it off and making it look nice, you'll get to the stage where you think, this is mad, let's make it fit properly before I start messing around with it.
That's the other thing, isn't it, is to test before. Obviously we don't know what kit it is or why it's got a step, but, you know, sometimes it's the locating holes are in the wrong, you know, or offset, so you will get a step. So the thing is just to cut them off, isn't it, and just manually, so it's level. Again, it's if he's then just come back to the hobby, he's not been at it. It's an experience thing. You just kind of learn from every build, don't you?
For example, if you're doing an aircraft fuselage, you don't have to glue it all together in one piece. in one go. You can glue a bit, tape it up, clamp it or something, let it dry, move on to the next bit, and keeps you're manipulating it so you get the seam as nice as you can before you have to go into doing any sanding or anything with it. The more you can do with it beforehand, the less you've got to do to try and correct whatever problems you've got in the end. But sometimes if you're doing a old special lobby kit or even old Airfix or whatever, you've got no choice and you have to do it. But
I think it's one of those things as well. I think the hardest part is, and it's something that comes with experience again, is knowing when you need to fill it to build it up or when you can just sand it out. Because the trouble is, if you've got a fuselage and it's on a curve and you're coming together and you've got quite a nasty step, it's a case of, do you just do a bit of both? Do you just take one out? Do you have to build up the other one? Because what you don't want to get is a flat area. So you need to maintain the curve onto it. But in modelling, and because of the scale effect and stuff like that, you can get away with it. We're getting a slight flat area. It's not like it's going to be very, very noticeable. But obviously in the bigger scales, when you get up to 32nd, if you start flattening areas off, it's very noticeable. But on smaller stuff, because it's just a small, tiny little slither, you can get away with just sanding down. But I think if you're doing something on, like when we were working on the VC10, there's a lot of filler on that one where if it had been a smaller scale, I probably would have just sanded it off and gone for it like that. But because the way it is and the size of it, you can see it. You'd end up with a flat spot across the top if you went sanding too far down. So you need to, keep it quite nicely. So sometimes I'll just build up some filler onto one side and we'll just keep sanding and rolling around it to get rid of it and do it that way. But again, it's one of those things that comes with time and with practice and stuff like that. The other thing as well we often talk about, and it comes up, is ghost seams. So ghost seams is literally where it's fine now and there's not a mark on this and you're really happy with it, but then 2 weeks later you look at it and there's a small dent running right the way down. It's very, very noticeable. And what that can be literally is either the glue is still curing. So if you're using a weld action glue, it's shrinking, and it's biting, and as it's literally curing and going off or gassing off, it pulls. And you end up with a seam and you think to yourself, well, hold on, I painted it and deckled it and weathered it and it looked fine. And here we are now, sort of, 2 weeks down the line, there's a big dent in it. That happens a lot. And that can be also through sanding, so when people come along, and I know, again, this is one of those things, people have their own ways of doing it, and I'm not going to disrespect anybody for doing it their way, but sometimes they use too fine a grit. And when you're using a very fine grit, they're literally polishing the plastic, generates a hell of a lot of heat. So what happens is that area where the glue is, the molecular structure is different to the plastic around it. So by sanding and polishing on it, they're generating so much heat and it's getting hot. It's physically changing the properties of the plastic almost, and it's shrinking it. So that's when you end up with ghost seams as well. And that's why I'm a great believer in using like the white core stuff we do, which starts at 180 grit, just for carving it off to take care of the bulk of it and then just using it until it gets cool. And I talk about it in there. You put your hand on it, if it feels hot, you want to move off and do somewhere else, because otherwise you're going to end up melting the plastic. So yes.
I would say if you mess it up, cover it up.
Weathering.
If it's a tank, cover it in mud.
Yes.
If it's a plane, put a tarp on it.
Put it in anger and shut the doors.
Yeah, that's it. Phil says, hi Phil, do you have any ideas on how to retain raised detail? I need to sand and fill the seams. I remember you saying a while ago about sanding all the detail away and then rescribing, but I don't want to do that amount of work. In that case, you want to use like a water-based putty is a great one. So if you use perfect plastic putty, what you can do is that you do all your filler work and everything else like that, and then just use a cotton bud, moist cotton bud, and literally just give it a rub. And you can take it away from all the details without having to sand away that filler afterwards. You can do it with lacquers as well, but that tends to eat the plastic if it's on there too much. But if you're using something like a perfect plastic putty, that's great for something that's got a lot of detail that perhaps you don't want to destroy. And also putting tape in. So, put some masking tape just to protect those areas. And when you're sanding, and to be honest with you, that's what skinny sticks were invented for. The reason came out with skinny sticks is to get in amongst. So instead of using an 18mm sanding stick, you can use a little stick just to get in amongst all the details. Or if you do, your collateral damage from sanding is only going to be 5mm wide instead of 18. So And don't forget you can trim them down as well. But I like using water-based putties because you can get in amongst all raised details as well to get them, you know, sanded and polished down without the need of actually getting in there and ripping it apart. What about you guys?
But if you did have to replace them, how would you do it?
Well, then you've got options. If you want to put raised detail back in, you can buy raised rivets, Archer decals, make them, sheets. And we did it on the A10 because obviously the back end of the A10 is all raised details. So we put all the raised rivets back in that we sanded off because we didn't have a lot of choice because it's a bit of a nightmare back there. So you can actually use Archer decals. They do sheets, and the way they're laid out in the sheets, so the gaps are differently. So if you cut that way, they're quite spaced apart. If you go downwards, they're tight together. You can do it that way. You can buy bolt heads and various things as well. So it depends what you're doing as well. Are we talking aircraft riveting, or are we talking tanks and armor? Because you can actually buy bolts and then obviously stick them all back in and add all the details back into it. And the same way goes with like raised panel lines. You can either use a sharp blade and cause a V, which causes a trench, but from the naked eye, it looks like a raised detail. Or you can actually use the old stretch sprue, or you could buy it, and then lay that on extra thin, let the capillary action goes in to put you a raised panel line back in and things like that. Don't know. What do you guys think? How do you deal with it?
Sand it off and rescribe it.
Yeah, I always think it looks better if you keep it all the same and rescribe it all. But like I said, stretch sprue for panel lines and things. And I think Meng do bolts and things as well, don't they?
A lot of companies do them now, don't they? Bolts and stuff like that.
And sometimes when you do an army, you find that on the sprue runners, you sometimes get bolts, especially like the companies like Meng. They do like on the sprue runners, they have like moulded on bolts specifically for like replacing things and what have you.
I think reading his question, he's an aircraft modeller, but
the kit's in board,
bit of a lost art now. We raise panel lines, isn't it?
It is, you don't see it much.
So, I mean, the thing is as well, it's like a lot of the kits have been redone that would have been raised. They're now recessed. There's only probably a few which haven't been sort of redone. Depends what you're building as well, but yeah. Interesting.
If you see this down in the chat, they're talking about obviously Tamiya's announcement for the next kit, saying about a 1 to 30-second P40. Jesus, that's all we need. They're everywhere. Also, someone's saying down here about Wing That Wings molds. Tamiya's got all the Wing That Wing molds.
Tamiya?
I can't imagine Tamiya would buy a mold for a minute. Not like that.
Why have I only got an F14?
Yeah.
Is my chat stuck again? My chat keeps locking.
This is the other chat. This is the YouTube chat.
Oh, you're on YouTube. Sorry, I'm on our chat.
My money's either on a 109 or a 190.
What, from Tamiya? It's announced not tomorrow, Thursday, innit? 21st, didn't they say? Was it?
It's 25th, I think, isn't it?
Is it 25th?
I thought it was 25th, yeah. Don't know. Whatever it is, it'll be lovely, but very expensive. It'll be interesting to see with the price of it, what that'll drop in at. So, right, Dave says, hi Phil, thanks to you and the boys for the efforts to keep us entertained during these, all of these track links and wheels or sanding and rescribing. Absolutely. I just got an oil wash and weathering with oil paints thinned down with distilled terps. I need to know how long to leave it to dry before protecting it with varnish. Also, how much would you thin the varnish so more weathering can go on top?
Right, I'll answer this one if you'd like.
Go on then.
You don't need to seal it. As long as you give the oil paint enough time to dry, you won't reactivate it. Once the paint's dry, it's like the enamel washers and everything. I think it's a bit of a misinformation, shall we say, because otherwise you'll be putting coat sealer on and then a coat sealer and a coat sealer. As long as it's dry in between, you won't reactivate it. I mean, oil washers, let's say, are going to be a bit more finicky than the enamel, but as long as the oil paint's dry, like when I've done the figures, it's the same thing with the figures, because obviously going over the top, and I'm not going to put on a sealer coat in between every coat of flesh out, when you're doing the flesh. As long as it's dry, it will not reactivate. So As in drying time. To be honest, what you want is the quick dry. What we sell, Abteilung quick dry thinner, and then that will. But you want to give it a day. If you give it a day, say if you put it on, say one evening, it should be hard the next evening to go over it again.
I think also as well is that a lot of people, if you don't do a lot of weathering, it's quite nice that if you use like the clay wash as a classic example with the oils, works really well with it. It actually works in and enhances it because the clay sticks to the oil, and then it gives it quite a nice finish. So like when I was messing around with this one, I didn't use any fixers or anything else with the pigments and stuff. And obviously what happens is with the flow, because it's got the wash on first, you put oils onto it, the sort of oils just flow into the clay because the clay will literally eats it up because it's like, you know, it's the medium of it. And they also, it just rubs off of each other very, very nicely and gives a very authentic and weathered look. So I quite don't seal between coats like I used to. It used to be that thing, when you're new to it, you panic about making a mistake. So you seal it down between each particular layer you're doing, so you've almost got a safe area you can go back to, so you can just wipe it off and go back to the last stage. But in some ways, when you get a bit good at it and you know you're understanding how it's working and you feel confident, using oils with the clay wash actually works really, really well. And then the pigments works well with yours. So I've got clay wash on first, then you've got the oils going on, so the oils make the clay sort of move around a little bit as well, which gives it a very natural look, and then the pigments stick to it all, so you don't need a fixer. So instead of having to go around perhaps putting down, you know, like enamel thinners as a fixer to get your pigments to stick to it, it all just rubs off of each other in the right way, if that makes sense. Not as in rubbing off, but it works well together. And that's what I quite like. So, yes.
It's one of the good things where having a buster's good, though, isn't it? You can practice and test it on a buster and have a play. Test your effects and test the...
Again though, you know, when he's using the oil paints, as long as he's leached out all the linseed oil, they'll dry really fast, and that's the trick, isn't it, with oil paints, is to get rid of all the oil carrier, whatever you want to call it, a piece of cardboard or a paper napkin, whatever, and you've got pure pigment. And once you've thinned that with terps or white spirit, really, I mean, he's using distilled terps. I don't know how sort of refined that is because I haven't used terps for years. I use white spirits. But again, as long as like the oil's out of it, it will dry fast and it will dry hard and will take quite a bit to reactivate it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, because that's the thing as well, isn't it? With the oils, once they have dried, very much like the clay wash, it's rock hard. It isn't going to go anywhere. You're not going to rub it off or suddenly smear it or something else like that, because once it's dry. But like we were saying, and I keep usually, I don't know if I have, I do. Look, I always keep these little bits of cardboard, and these are literally for when I'm doing any type of work with oils. You would have seen it a million times. I put them onto these and let it sit for a couple of hours, and you get a big blob, usually right the way through to the other side with that linseed oil, because the linseed oil keeps it alive, isn't it? So you want to get rid of that. So once it's on, and that will dry your drying times horrendously, without it, it'll probably take weeks to go off. Because I remember it was the Sherman I did, my sort of homage to Fury. When I was working on that had a ton of oils on it, and it took weeks to dry, but I didn't dry them out too much on card. I just put it on and then used it almost straight away, where I've learnt that to leave it, to literally let it leach.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Rob McCluskey's comment. Andy's looking a little threadbare, are you, overworking it? You do look a bit tired this afternoon. You just crashed.
Because you've been rushing around all morning.
Do you need a pillow and a blanket?
We've been rushing around all morning, then all of a sudden we just like sat down and thinking,
you just
need a nana nap.
It does.
He needs a nana nap.
I just would have a snooze in the corner, and I'll wake you up when it's time to go home. You need a Jaffa cake. Go get yourself a Jaffa cake.
Yeah, I don't know.
Give yourself a sugar spike.
It just makes me even worse.
Okay, right. Tony says, I've begun building Scalextric cars using 136 Airfix kits and other resin bodies that are available. In order to achieve a decent gloss finish, am I better off using matte paints and finishing with a high gloss clear coat? If so, which clear coat, 2-pack lacquer or otherwise, would you recommend? Or can you suggest a decent gloss paint that can be airbrushed? I understand the technique of putting down a wet coat to the point of almost getting runs to achieve a high gloss finish, but don't know which paint is the best. I'm airbrushing and wouldn't mind using lacquers, but again, are they a gloss finish? Over to our glossing expert.
Right, okay. Either or, to be honest. The way obviously, if you're doing a metallic, you don't really get a glossy metallic. So if you're doing your silvers, your golds, or coppers, whatever. So if you're using the XF range or the LP range, whatever, they'll dry flat, and then you're going to put a clear coat on. Now, my recommend, you don't want to go the 2-pack route. That's a bit overkill for a Scale Electrics car, but I mean, what I was using when I did the Lotus on the Turkey Shoot build is obviously the GX 100. I think I actually got GX 1200, which is the UV one. Again, these are just single pack clear coats, as they call them. So just thin it with like a thinner 50/50 and put it on wet, and get it, and it'll keep the finish, you know, a good gloss finish. Again, the I've never tried it, if I'm honest, but even the Tamiya gloss coats, the X4, 5, whatever they are, I can't think of there, will give you a decent gloss finish if you thin it in the right consistency and keep it wet. Because that's what they're for. Look at you with your X1 and X2, you can get a decent gloss finish.
Yeah.
As long as you thin it right and you keep it on wet, you know, you keep it wet.
I think it's that thing as well, and I've done videos on it, is when you're spraying, you want to be close enough that when you're putting it on, it looks wet and you can see it physically eating into itself. The bit where you're too far away, you're just going to have a matte finish every time. Okay, but when you're into it and you catch it in the light and you can see it going on, it's nice and easy and you can see it building across, and you're just starting from one side, just going to work your way across, and then you go back the other way, whichever way you want to go. But it's that thing of having it wet enough that it literally goes down and just melts into itself, and it gives a very nice finish. And you know, we were talking about runs to the, you know, wet enough to the point of runs. It's probably not even that wet, but it's that thing. You just want a nice, good consistency of paint, a nice low air pressure, and getting nice and close and just layering it down, you know.
And that's the key. You've just hit it. It's keeping it even and layering it. I've seen, you know, I've seen people on YouTube and they're doing this.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get an even coat. You're going to have it. It's going to go orange peely. It's going to have dry patches. You want to do it so it's like a typewriter or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Right, but you know what I mean? Just
to be honest, if you look at part 3 of this build, isn't it? And that's what I say about it. That first one is a bit of a dusty one down there. Then the second one is, and it also is between me and the 3-coat system. First one's dusty. Second one, I'm slowing down. Third one, air pressure's right down, slowing, and literally like, as you say, typewriter going up and down, and we're revolving and going around with it. Okay, you have a look, and we're going to go back the other way, and you can see it's just melting into itself, and you just look at it and it just looks pure gloss, and then it just leave it out of the way, let it dry, you know, and away you go with it.
Again, it's one of them techniques where you need to practice it, and once it's clicked, like it clicked with you, it's easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's people, obviously, because they're not thinking it, they're scared of it, so you're backing off, and you dare put too much on because you're going to flood it and it's going to run. It takes a lot to flood it. If you go like that and stop, you're going to flood it.
Yes.
If you carry on,
you
go to the end and go over the end and stop, and then come back. And you'll see, you'll get it. You'll pick it up. The best thing to do is, like Andy said, get a buster and practice on that, because you'll know the limits, and don't be scared to literally put it on wet, but also, like you said, just drop the pressure and get in close, because that is another trick. Because again, a lot of people, they're too far away from it, so it's going dry before you've even hit it. You need it so it's wet. And once you get it, you'll get it. It'll just click. You'll go, oh right, okay, that's easy. But again, explaining it to somebody is harder than probably showing it as well. But I can't give you the confidence I've got to do it, because it's something you've got to learn for yourself. Does that make sense? I can only say you go this close and you're going at this sort of air pressure and this paint mixing ratio, but you need to practice and you know, and then it'll just click.
And like you said, make sure you go off the edge, because if you don't go off the edge, by the time you've
build
returned,
up. That's the thing as well. Obviously, learning from car painting, you go off the edge because you get a build up on the edge. If you just stop, say if I'm painting a door, you don't just paint the door. You paint sort of halfway either side of the door when it's masked up, because otherwise you're going to get a build up on one end and build up on the other, and that's where your runs come.
Yes.
So you go off it and then take your trigger off and then come back and blah blah blah. And again, that's that's just experience, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's just
it is. It's one of those things. Like for years, I avoided gloss like the plague, or COVID, as you could say these days, because I just never got on with it. I could never get a nice glossy finish, no matter what I did, even if I was just clear coating at the end, let alone gloss paint. It just never worked for me. I used to get runs with it and everything, and it is that thing of like understanding what's going on and then practice, as you say. But you probably make the best point at all is like, even on this one, going along to start with, made a mistake. I went to here and then back. So I went here and back, and then it got very wet in here. So then I bugged out and went off of somewhere else and did a different area to it. Because otherwise you are going to end up with a run going to happen and going to flood the area. And as soon as you flood it, it's really hard to come back. If you got to the point where you got runs, you're into that thing now, a case of look, just leave it and walk away. But that might not even be an option. You might need to give it a tab to get some of the paint off.
With a car body, and this is going to be thingy from actually doing a full size car. If you're doing a full repaint on a full car or even on a small car body, hold on, let me just grab my logos and might be able to use that as an example. It's not the best car because it ain't got a roof, but we'll just use it as an example, right? So I can't even remember when I fingered it. But if I'm glossing this, right, I would start that side. So you keep it wet, go like that, over to the other side. People I've seen say, if you like, thinking, I'll start in the middle of the roof and I'll come down and do this side first and then I'll go over to the other side and do that. Well, you're going to have a dry spot down the middle, aren't you?
Yeah.
Especially using this stuff. I mean, I wouldn't recommend gloss coating if you want a decent gloss finish with any of the acrylic gloss coats. They don't cut it. They're just no good. And they're not very hard wearing either. They will dry hard, but these stuff's like, really, this is proper single pack car paint in a little jar.
Yeah.
And the lacquer ones are more hard wearing and easier. They keep the shine, where the other ones tend to die back. But the wheel fell off.
You've not stuck them on, have you?
No, it's the wheels on. But again, the trick is to always keep it wet. Wherever you're going, is to keep it wet. So whatever car body, I mean, like with the Jag or wherever. And that's a trick to getting a high gloss finished, and especially on a little car body. 1/32 one, it should be actually quite straightforward once you get the hang of it to get a gloss, because it's not a massive area. It should stay wet without going off too fast. Leveling thin is also a good help as well, because it just got a bit of retarder in it and stop it drying on you so fast. So
you get used to Matt's kits. Every time you pick them up, either the wheels or propellers drop off them.
I don't stick things on. You just because they're only going to get broke anyway, aren't they?
Well, yes.
Knocked and busted, but yeah. So, but yeah, that helps. But really, going back to what he said, I would stick with the matte paints and gloss coat them. Because I also think if he's doing Scalextric stuff as well, if he's got to decal them or put any stickers on, at least then you can seal them under the clear coat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that's answered that.
And if it goes wrong, leave it a week and rub it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have done a few times.
Yeah. Okay, Robert says, hello Phil and team. You may want to check your Kinetic GR13 Harriers before they go out. I've received one from Hannants last week and the clear parts are missing.
Oh God, ours are all gone. Literally. I've only got a couple left. Well, the thing is, they're not thinking Hannants, but they're the importer. They're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah, he's saying he's tried to contact them, but with no luck.
Good old Kinetic, done it again with the clear parts.
No, we're okay.
Andy's all right. He's got his.
I'm all right.
Is that your one? Is it?
Yeah. Mine's all right.
Show him the Tiger Moth. By the way, your care package has just gone. That's where when the
right. Off. Okay. Thank you.
So, what are you doing? Sealed up. You're not. There you go.
Oh, Tiger Moth.
So the rest of them are going out.
Pull it towards you, Andy. You're playing with your camera angles.
Sorry.
That's
it. Halfway, look. Yeah, look.
It doesn't work. You two have moved. I had it all set perfectly earlier. So yes, very nice. But again, it's a bit weird that they've done it in that marking for the first box of it. It's a bit like the Gladiator, isn't it?
Well, I don't know how many variants of a tiger moth there actually was, and they're obviously going to get a bit of mileage out of it. Why? What was you thinking? They should have done the yellow one.
I don't know, but I think they would have done. I don't know, something. You look at the Airfix one; they went with a very colourful one, didn't they? And all the rest of it, with all the different schemes there are out there.
I do like the silver dope one though.
Yeah, even in silver dope limit effect, I think would look nicer than that.
Yeah, it's not the best box art.
No, considering usually theirs are pretty good. I just didn't think that was very inspiring with that one.
It's not Edard's standard, is it?
No.
Yeah. So Phil gained one of them anyway. It's been picked up, so we can review it.
Yes, we'll get a review of that done.
Might do it back end of this week, next week, depends, doesn't it? So, get him in.
Gordon says, Phil, do you like to add rivets to kits nowadays, or do you just go with the detail as it is? Again, it depends. If it's something like with the A10 on the rear end of it, because where the engine nacelles fit, it's a freaking nightmare. There's a huge gap and joint, so it needed sanding and filling and taking care of. But when doing that, you lost all the raised bolts, basically. Say rivets, is more like bolts on that thing. So again, you need to replace a like for like. You couldn't get away with just like, putting down sunken rivets, as in sand them all off and then do it, because it's 1/32. It is what it is. It's raised rivets back there and very, very noticeable. They're huge. So that's why I went for a like for like type finish onto that one. But I know other people like Hawks, isn't it? It's a classic example. On the T1 Hawk, on the back end of it, you've got all of those raised rivets. Yet none of the manufacturers, as far as I know, do it with raised rivets. They all do it recessed rivets. But they're not. They're very raised, very, very pronounced. But I know people have sanded it and put raised ones all on there because that's what they are. So again, it's personal choice if you want to go to that level of detail and do a like for like or a representation of. So, like me, when I did the Bear is a classic example, that's got a million raised rivets all over it, but there's no way I'm putting them on. So I did it as in recessed and just used riveting wheel and went round to give it recessed rivets so it would take a wash to give the impression of. So, but again, it just depends on what one you're actually doing. So, yes. What are they on about?
Andy's new glasses, look.
Oh, yeah, I see that now. Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one, that.
Anyway, why is John Buller in there and not on here? That's all our question. He's on holiday this week.
Because he didn't get invited.
Oh, right. So, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I've got cardboard run.
Oh, right. Okay. No, the guy said about this thing, it looks like a Frisbee. I call it the toilet seat. Been calling it the toilet seat all week. So, yes, looks like a loo seat to me. But it would make a very good Frisbee. I'll try it later when it all goes wrong. So, yes.
I think what hasn't helped is because we've been rushing around all the time outside and it's freezing, then we've come and sat in here and the heating's on.
Oh, you've got that warm, glowy feeling. And you've just had your lunch. Andy needs his nana. He needs a siesta. He'll be back at it at 3 o'clock. It's his Spanish blood. So, yes, very, very good. Anyway, where's the water to? Is it coming up yet? We've got a bit of a flood warning at the unit again.
Yeah, we're going to get the sausages out later.
Yes. But they've delivered sandbags around the area. If you remember a couple of years ago, we were saying, we think it was 2 years ago now, they had the really bad floods in Doncaster, and all the roads leading to the unit were impassable. They're all underwater, weren't it? But the unit itself is actually on a small mound.
Yes.
So the water, the car park down the bottom end was actually under like a lake, but actually up where the unit is, and all the units are above sea level, clearly.
Yeah. And the only problem we've had at the unit is the water was coming through the door, wasn't it? But they put new seals on it now.
Yeah, we've
so
got new seals. We'll see if they work.
Yeah. But yeah, it's supposed to be heavy rain coming later on, so yeah, we'll make sure we're batting the hatches down.
How do you build a diorama? He's just gone, our diorama expert. Him and Kev are our diorama experts.
Yeah.
As I say, we've got videos on about it, and we've done live stuff with Kev as well. Kev's done some absolutely phenomenal dioramas. You would have seen all his work in the magazines and various bits and pieces. He's our diorama whiz.
I think the main thing is having an idea clear in your mind what you want to do before you start doing it, isn't it? And Kev showed us when he came down here, he's got lots of pictures, books, etc. of different ideas. I mean, he showed us like photos he's got on his laptop of loads of different, pictures that he's saved, taken, of different bits, so that you've got an idea of what you want to do, and you can put different bits into different, a couple of different bits into a diorama to make it look right. How do you do a diorama? What was the first thing you did?
What's the first thing I do?
Yeah.
Build the actual kit, really, and then sort of it falls together around me, if I'm honest. Why he was asking?
It's one of the questions on here. How do you do dioramas?
So again, though, the best thing is actually to Google image and get an image you like and use that as inspiration.
That's what we were saying. Yeah, you need an idea.
The best person to ask is Kev, isn't it? He's
That's
the one
what we
who's
just saying.
Really. I've only just started, so I'm a bit sort of learning on the job.
One of Kev's just literally.
Yeah, you can't see it here, but one of Kev's is maybe.
Change camera angle. Put that camera on it.
Yeah, stick that thing on. Look.
Just change camera.
You can see in this.
It's gonna fill up now completely.
Go on.
Can you see it?
Here it is.
That one, look, that's one of Kev's.
Yeah.
Which is very nice. And again,
this one hot.
That one.
Yeah.
Mine's the dodgy 189 below.
But yeah, I think the best thing is to Google image pictures. Blimey, I could take that off and big way. And then just use them as inspiration, really. And don't forget, even if you like the scene, you don't got to put the vehicle that's in the picture in or whatever. You can swap and change that. And also, it's just books and internet, Facebook, God knows where people put pictures up and stuff like that. I mean, there's loads of magazines and books out just for techniques as well, for how to do stuff.
Also, when you look at Kev's dioramas, it's not just the vehicle on the diorama. There's other things in it. I mean, like the Angels one. It's upstairs. Is it still upstairs?
The what one?
The Angels one with the wing.
Oh yeah, the Angels and Demons one. Yeah, it's still upstairs.
So you've got like an anti-aircraft tank thing or whatever. Yeah, sat there, and then in the background on a higher ground, he always builds them higher up on one side or a corner. He's got a wing of a 32nd
P47.
P47. But then when you look around it, there's always something that leads you somewhere else. And then when you go somewhere else, there's like something like you'll have a chicken or a flower or something that so your eye sort of leads.
That's the thing with diorama, to keep you interested in it. There's all different aspects to them, So that's a really good diorama builders have got that knack.
Yeah.
Like looking at a picture.
Yeah, story.
Yes, it is art. I always say it's art, proper art, isn't it? Tim says, Phil, on the Enterprise, do you think the masking will pull off with Tamiya tape, or do you pick it off individually? To be honest, it won't. If you see, well, you will see it. And already heard me about it on Saturday when we were doing it. I'm not a fan of this stuff. It leaves a residue behind when you peel it off. So I had it all over this thing, so I had to go around it with enamel thinners to get the residue off the glue. So, and these ones, they tend to stretch. I prefer to use, if you can, like Tamiya tape for actually all your masking, because it's clean, it comes away, it leaves no residue, but also it doesn't stretch and distort either. It's a lot easier to work with. It holds its shape. So when you're putting on like a large part, you tend to put it at one end, you just like wipe it over and it's fine. You do it with this, you can end up bending it and it goes out of shape and stuff, but obviously it leaves behind residue as well. That said, I find Tamiatate conforms better as well. This tends to sit on, so you have to properly rub this stuff down to make sure it's a good fit. But that's why I've done it over a gloss, because I could have just gone over a matte finish and put this over it, but I was a little bit concerned about it might take the paint with it and stuff like that. So over a gloss finish, you're more likely to get a clean peel away without it taking the base with it. And so far, I have to say, I haven't had any trouble with it at all. But when I was doing it originally on these ones, I actually did it with a pair of tweezers, which took me hours, absolutely hours to remove them off of this. This one, I actually started to use my nail and was just picking at it and then tear a bit off because I was feeling confident we weren't going to lose anything. So like these ones down the side here, which are quite complex ones on this, literally just got hold of it and just run my nail down it and peel it all off. Because again, because it's gloss finish underneath, you're less likely to scratch the paint as well. And so far, it hasn't been an issue. It's all come off, no problem. But again, I did have glue, especially on the underside. It's actually covered in glue. So I had to go around with enamel thinners and literally just keep wiping it away. And then eventually the glue's all come off now and we're good for the next one. This may be a different one because these are actually bigger panels on this than there. So it might not be an issue. But I'm hopeful that it should be straightforward paint job onto this. Peel all of this off, then it can have its final coat over the top, and then so obviously we're going to come back and do detail painting on it again, so that'd be more masking. So we will see how we go. But I'm never a fan of the vinyl type ones. They're too hard, they don't conform as nice, and they always seem to leave glue behind. So that's the trouble with them.
I say that's the ones you get when you get the vinyl canopy masks. It's a blooming glue residue in it.
Yeah.
Did you tell him he ordered the vinyl ones?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he knows. Well, you know, he's obviously a master now at getting glue off vinyl stickers.
Well, the thing is, I think as well is that it's a cost thing, isn't it? I think the vinyl ones are cheaper than using like kabui tape and stuff like that, which I think is obviously a little bit more expensive. So you can understand why they do it in that way as well, because it keeps the cost down, especially if you're doing like this thing's got like 6 or 7 sheets of the stuff. So
well, they just stick it under a laser thing, don't they, and program the computer, and it'll just cut it out off the sheet, won't it?
Well, sometimes it does, or as I found with this one, not all the time.
No. What you said is it a blade they use in it?
Yeah, it's a blade. Like I said, I think I had the Friday night version or one with a duff blade because a lot of it wouldn't cut, so I had to go around and cut them out to get them off. So
no, not fun.
Phil, do you have or do you plan on doing a review on the LP series of paints? I did one, didn't I? Did we do it? Sure, we did it back in the day because I must admit I got them a little bit before they got to the UK. Because I had a few sent over to me by a friend, and then we got the rest sent over. This is under tools. Tools and paints. I'm sure we did one.
Your initial thoughts were that they sprayed really nice, but they stunk.
Yeah, but now I'm immune to it, so it's fine.
Because you did the crap van, didn't you, Nick? That's the first thing you used.
Yes. But I don't know if we did a standalone video on the paints themselves. No, don't know we did. Yeah, I thought we did have I did do a little mini review because I was saying they stink.
I know, perhaps that was on the crap van.
Yeah, perhaps it was a crap van.
Crap van.
Super Hobby Metallics. Yeah, good point. Doesn't look like we did, but yeah, I'd say highly recommend them. I do love them now. Now they don't stink because I've like burnt off me nasal receptors. Either that, I've got COVID, and, but yeah, it's very, very nice stuff. Like I always say, it's just the same as their acrylic range, so it's very forgiving. It's got a very wide usage format. So thinning, you don't have to be very accurate. If you go 50-50, 60-40, you can go each side. It doesn't actually matter. It will still spray lovely and you'll get a really nice finish with it. It dries very, very quickly. It dries hard as nails. Okay, so that's great for anything else you want to do. You can mask over it. You can do all the things. But for the initial time I used it, especially when we did the crepe van, it stunk. It proper was like, but I think you do get used to it. So yes.
Tony's just invested in a bench vent.
Yeah.
You just want to use it for all your paints, never mind the LP range.
Bench vent will fill the corner up nicely.
It will.
Apparently, you're supposed to turn it on as well, but
well, you got that far.
Yeah, Andy's
you haven't read that part of the instruction sheet.
Andy hadn't even plugged it in yet.
Say electric, aren't you, Andy?
Mine's
He's got the wireless version.
It's connected up to Alexa. Can I just say to Alexa, turn on extractor, and she goes, okay.
She goes, no.
She says, the what?
Yeah.
I don't
Alexa
understand.
Says, you need to change your filter.
Saying that apparently they're still not available in the US and not likely for another 6 months.
What are LPs? Well, apparently Mr. Andy on Andy Albier's Court has done a review on them, so I would have thought if he's reviewing them, he's selling them.
Yeah.
They get things early, don't they? From Tamiya.
Yeah, but what's the point in reviewing the paint if you can't sell it? Because he's obviously not going to get a spike in sales if you've got to wait another 6 months. Is that labelling issues then again, is it?
I don't know.
What's the Andy? What's the ETA on the Tamiya McLaren Senna? Pass. When it turns up, got no idea. No idea.
The problem is, it's also. I mean, they've obviously got.
It's ready.
The times they want to bring them out, and we were told about it a while ago. So it's obviously coming out, but then it's the problem with shipping, isn't it?
Yeah,
and not only shipping, then also then the transport getting it off the ships and into us. So
I don't know. I haven't got a date mark, to be honest. So I don't know until it turns up. Pretty much, as with most things we pre-order, we don't have any dates of when we're getting them. There's estimates.
Yeah.
Tamiya stuff, we never have it. Just right, it's in. We want some money. That's what I usually get.
Just to answer here, because some people have mentioned it in the chat. This weekend, there's a slight change.
It's not a slight change, it's a massive change.
All right, it's a big change. We're only doing Saturday now. We're doing Saturday morning, afternoon and night, but not the Sunday.
No, we have got lives.
Because apparently we're not allowed out to play by our partners. So, yes, apparently they want to see us. You'd think they'd be happy, but there you go. So, yes, so plan of action is obviously we'll do Saturday morning, 10 till midday-ish, or 10 till 1, something else like that, because Matt needs his beauty sleep. So he doesn't wake up looking that good. And then obviously afternoon 2 till 5, and then the evening we'll do 7 till 9 or something else like that.
Not be funny for your lot. All you've got to do is walk downstairs. I've got to come here.
Oh, right.
Do it from shed.
You can do it from the home, I thought.
No, I've got work to do, so I need to be here.
Oh, all right.
It's fair. I'll get halfway through Sunday and Shell will say to me, are you going up to your room?
I'll say, do you know what, Sunday afternoon, you'll be like, what are you doing? Yeah, bored, shall we get good?
We'll be on Skype.
Do a live stream on Sunday afternoon. No, so Saturday we're doing it, because technically we're also doing the Bolton show, and Bolton show is only a one-day show anyway, so which is obviously going to be last Sunday, but we're going to do it on a Saturday, so that all makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Clear as mud. That's what we're doing.
Let me check my settings. Hold on.
Why? What you done?
Well, people are saying that I'm a bit loud and it's crackling. It's spiking out. What it is that on Saturday I was very, very quiet. So what I've done is I will just turn myself down. No, it's going back up on its own. It's actually auto-setting itself. So...
Tony says, stop taunting me with the Harrier box behind you. And then
yours in the post, Tony. Yours in the post. It got posted today. Oh, that's morning with all that big pile we dropped off.
Oh, no, I think we've got his.
Did we?
Don't think we've sent it out.
Oh, right. We'll have to wait then till Friday till I can get to the post office again.
No, it went out today. And Phil says, Matt, I think Andy's consignment of Tamiya LP ended up at the bottom.
The seabed in the container. I hope not for him.
I wasn't sure whether or not he'd lost anything, did he?
I don't know.
I know he said that the ship had had an accident and containers had gone, but I didn't know whether it was one of his or not.
No, not a situation I'd want to be in.
They're saying in here that there's a rumour going around that the Tamiya LP paint range is stuck in California and it has an EPA issue.
Oh, God.
Right.
Yeah, that's been mentioned before. I think he mentioned it, didn't he? Brett. That's Brett. Turkey shoot, wasn't it? And he said
I think so.
It's in California since November. It's labelling, isn't it?
See, that's always the thing.
Oh,
look, Jamie's on. Hello from quarantine in Bahrain. Sitting out 14 days before he can get back into Saudi. That's it. He's probably stuck in a very nice hotel, though.
Yeah. In the warmth.
Yeah, also, what do we think about Squadron closing?
Well, is that like Squadron Putty?
Yeah.
That's what I've got to get them off-site, mate. Delete it.
How did you know?
I did that. Well, actually, Gary told me yesterday about it. Never clicked. I'm like, Squadron? Well, I don't really deal with Squadron.
I was going to say, over here, Squadron's not as big, I think, as it obviously is in the US, because obviously it would be the equivalent of Hannant's closing. So,
but it is Squadron Green, isn't it? And it's got the putter, so you're not getting that again. That's a shame, actually.
But look, I might get a spike in sales on Sanders now. No more Squadron Sanders.
That's a good point, because I forgot they did stuff like that. I'm thinking kits, but they never really did. They did a few, didn't they?
They did a few, but yeah.
But it was more, sundries. But I presume, why are they gone bust then? Is it just COVID related or just?
Well, I wouldn't have thought so, but again, I think we've spoken about this on some of the shows. The world is definitely pitching at a different degree these days, isn't it? It's off kilter a little bit, and some of the big companies are starting to sort of crack a little bit and are deciding to call it a day, isn't it? So
yeah.
Did they have a poor online presence, or?
I don't know much about Squadron, because obviously
I'm not massively up on Squadron. No, that's it. No, but back in the day, from a UK point of view, they'd be the equivalent of Hannant's. So.
But Sprue Brothers took over their mantle it then, because that's like probably the equivalent now, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, I do know obviously Sprue Brothers really well, and I've worked with them in the past. And obviously, when they took over Role Models, because Role Models were a large company, and then obviously they took those. So it may be that Sprue Brothers, obviously one of the largest ones in the US, that's what they're doing. So.
Yeah, all right.
Again, it's that thing, isn't it? Is that you get to that point, like I've often said, it's all very well companies or customers not using the shops locally. So what's happened now is that we're all online. And now it's almost coming to rest now that the bigger companies are swallowing the smaller companies online. So you're going to have one option, which is great, but there's no competition anymore.
Yeah.
So at that point, these companies who have been doing kits nice and cheap for years to get a customer base start to increase their prices, because now there's no competition and they can do what they like. And like I've always said, that is the trouble. It
says Steve's put up, Squadron was a big mail order company. They did distribution and online sales. News reports the UK government is going to slap a tax on a tax for online products.
We'll pay taxes.
We'll pay taxes, don't we? We'll pay. Is this for you buying it, Neil, or us selling it? I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. Again, there's been this rumour about a tax for online for UK stuff, isn't it? All online sales get 2.5% tax to stop people from buying online to get back out into the high street. But again, look what happened last summer. We all went out shopping and eating and getting paid to eat out, and look what happened. So, I think once the world gets back to normal next year, we should be all right again, isn't it?
Colin's got a good question here. Anyone got any experience of decent heaters for a man cave? I want to keep the heating on full time in the winter, so running costs need to be considered. I can't read. Man cave is 12 by 8, fully insulated shed, currently using a fan heater, but wants to stabilise. What's an ad hoc?
It's just.
Okay, right, but want to stabilise the temperature 16 degrees or appropriate. Well, in my shed, I've got an oil-filled radiator, but it was the one that was in here, the big one, and I left it on. It's brilliant, because I had a little one, and it was,
Let's say I've got quite a small one out in the unit, and that's 15 by 10, and it's fully insulated and everything out there. And it's not big; it's the little one like this. I showed it when we first had it, and I tell you what, it's brilliant, because no matter what, like last week when it was really cold here, I just have it set to whatever it is, and it keeps it at that temperature. It just cuts in and out. It doesn't cost a fortune to run, because it's continuously just topping up the temperature.
I don't know if that heater that we've had installed in here, like that electric thing, radiator thing, if they come in different sizes, but that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Because it's on a timer. You can set the temperature. You can have it for night and day, so it goes off and comes on automatically. It's absolutely brilliant.
The trouble you find, though, the guy's talking about there about the infrared heaters, if you're not in it, you're freezing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all right if you're sat under it and you're like a chick, keeping warm. But if you move to the other end or something, it's freezing over there.
To be honest, the oil-filled radiators are good, especially in the shed. Like I say, I've got a bigger one than I need because it's obviously out of here when we had the new heater in. But I only need it on. It's really on, like setting one and turn right down, and it's obviously on a thermostat. So if it does drop below a certain, it will kick in and boost the heating. But it's perfect, really.
And that one that Phil's got in his shed is good because I've slept in there many a time during the winter.
You've been in there in Christmas.
I've been in winter. I was about to say, go in some more, but you've been in winter as well, haven't you?
Yeah, so I get kicked out of the shed, you see, when I go around.
That's the annex, isn't it?
It's really, really cosy and quiet.
The granny flat, isn't it?
It is, it's the granny flat. I did say the other week when I had to do the run to the tip.
You wouldn't need to come in, would you?
Yeah,
I know.
You need to have the toilet.
I know, no, it's not that. That's why the tree is dead next to it. It's where he keeps peeing on it in the night. There's no grass growing anywhere out the front.
There's a gap behind the shed. You can look over the wall to next door neighbour. James says, "Afternoon, chaps. Just got back from dropping my mum off for a COVID jab. Why's she getting back? Are you going to pick her up?"
Just dumped her, left her. Yeah, she could walk back.
Yeah, my dad had his done.
Has it done?
Yeah, end of last week.
Has your mum had hers done yet?
No.
Has she had a letter for it?
No.
No,
it's
mine
a bit slow down here, to be honest.
How's your mum there?
Because to be honest, my mother-in-law's 85 and got everything wrong with her, and she hasn't even had it yet.
My mum's 79, so she's not had hers yet.
Oh right, they still? I thought they'd dropped the thing now.
No, only in areas where they've done the majority of the 80s. And they're going to
It's got a bus pass. True.
Okay,
right?
Richard says, in the summer, I got hold of some Tamiya Lime 1 cement. They are not as hot as standard. The smell is very citrusy. If anyone has a problem with the standard, £13 for a pot from Korea. That citrus one, apparently, there's a story behind that. It's the one that they use in schools in Japan. That's why it smells citrusy. It's something to do with a legal requirement for what they use in schools. So that's what that comes about.
Is that the linen something in it? One?
Yeah.
That's how you say it, the linen, yeah. You know what I mean?
Linoleum? No.
Lime 1, I call it. That's how it's spelt, but it's lomium.
I don't think we can get that over here.
Yeah, this is the other one. That's the other one they do, which is that's the funny one. It's like white top, that one. But yes, apparently the reason is it's something to do with it. It's that school children technically can't drink it or shouldn't, but if they did, it wouldn't kill them. So they're allowed in school. So that's what that one's for.
All right.
Again, it's Tamiya playing to the home market, isn't it?
Yeah. Yannick's got a technical question with airbrushes for you in chat.
I have an issue with my iWater HPC. I've had it for years and it worked great. And then it started pulsing. It sounds and spitting. It sounds like spitting, but doesn't spit. I've cleaned it out, replaced the nozzle and needle, and the issue still persists. Could it be the air valve under the trigger? Anyone had this issue before? I haven't had that problem in all my years of airbrushing. Have you, Matt?
No. I just send them to you, so...
Well, yes, you do send them to me for deep cleaning.
Any problems, I just stick it in the post to you, sort it. I don't know. Sounds like it could do probably a seal service.
I was going to say, the only thing is, it could be the seal on top of the actual air stem as it goes into the actual airbrush unit itself. But I've never known one to fail, ever. It's not the type, it's not like a high wear part or something that gets thinners on it or anything else like that, so they tend to go on forever. But if it sounds like it's spitting and you've got that sort of crackly noise...
Is your nozzle tightened up?
Yeah, it sounds like it's drawing air in.
Or your cap's on tight
or
something. It sounds daft, but it's just something...
It says he's replacing nozzles and needles. But...
Yeah, but has he replaced the nozzle seal?
Yes, the little seal that goes on the nozzle. Has it got that as well? Yeah. God, there's so many variables with blooming airbrushes, isn't there? When they go wrong, it's... It's probably a seal problem.
To be honest, it does sound like it's a seal problem rather than needle or nozzle. Because if you've got that crackling sound, it normally is a sign that it's getting air being drawn in, and it's getting bubbles down it where it shouldn't have bubbles, basically.
Bubbles.
Bubbles. Paul says, "Hi, Phil and the boys. What's your opinion on zero paints, pre-thinned for airbrushes? I've used them with my with his 112 Ford GT40 and also his Italeri 132nd Tornado. Wow, what a joy! Well impressed. Never used them.
I've heard good things about it. I've never used zero paints, but I have heard really, really good things. But they are lacquer-based paint, so they are going to go nice, aren't they?
I've used this on an engine recently. It wasn't big, it was the size of your finger, but that went down beautifully as well. That's zero paints. Which is a good point. Different Andy, you can pick it up if you want.
I don't know if I've got some zero paints in a metallic blue colour, a bit like that actually. I found it last night or the night before when I was hunting for something else and I found it in a box, but...
Things they do some really good colour match for cars and bikes.
That's what they're for, innit, really.
If you want your Ford blue or your Lamborghini orange or something.
Subaru blue.
Yeah. That's what you go for, isn't it?
Ferrari red. Yeah, they do loads and loads of colours. Apparently they do, I think they do the colours for the E-Types, original colour swatches for an E-Type. Somebody on about it. I'm sure it's on our forum, to be honest. Might have been Alex's building one, it might have been his or something. As long as you don't do British Racing Green, do whatever you want. It was on about that. Do you know what British Racing Green reminds me of? Midnight Blue. That shitty colour that never seems clean and just awful colour. It's an awful colour. I don't know what the big fuss is about British Racing Green.
Must talk about colours. Before we came on, we noticed a question that somebody had asked in chat right at the end of Saturday's show that we missed. And it was basically asking what colour would the blue be for Royal Navy during the Napoleonic Wars? Well,
no, Nelson.
Yeah, Trafalgar, sorry, yeah. And we all decided it was definitely navy blue.
Which sounds really patronising, but we don't mean to be, because it probably actually will be navy blue, because he said Oxford blue or what was it, midnight blue, wasn't it?
Midnight blue, yeah.
But blue, again, it's an odd one to answer, because I wouldn't say there's a definitive colour for it, because it's perspective of you painting the figure.
Yes.
Because once you've done your highlights and lowlights and all the other bits and bobs when it comes to painting, then it's never going to be what you started out with anyway. You just want it the right ballpark.
And being a top naval officer, he'd have had his clothes bespoke built, done for him anyway. So they might not have actually.
Well, like that with his hand.
Yeah. What
Horatio.
What his men wore might not have been exactly the same.
Yeah. Well, it could be. Yeah. Like any clothes, going to wear them, whatever, in it.
Yeah. It's going to be like that in a couple of years' time when the fishing kicks off again. We'll need him back.
Is that it? Is it resurrecting?
Right. Just found out today that Special Hobby are reboxing the Academy T6 Texan with new parts.
Hold on. Back up a minute here. Nigel's just put Kitty up doing a 132nd Jag. Where's this information just come from?
Someone said, why is there 32nd decals and resin wheels on eBay for Jaguar GR1 free? There's no kit.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Kitty Hawk, hold on. We can talk about this because I've seen all the CAD work and I've seen all the shit on this years and years and years ago when the actual intruder was done. And then a certain person left the company and then went to work for Kitty Hawk and has been flouting this around for some time. And then it turned out it was the 48th one. It got downscaled to the 48th Kitty Hawk Jaguar. So, yeah, that's an old rumour that's been flying around forever.
I thought Nigel was making a big statement, something just been announced about one. Sorry.
That rumour's been kicking around for literally now 10 years.
Oh, that's, yeah.
So, because also, if you want to go down that old thing, and that's what I'm saying, this is so old, the 30-second Buccaneer that Trumpeter were doing, all the CAD work and everything else like that was sorted and done and was out, and then obviously said, a certain person who leaked it, who now no longer works for the company, works for Kitty Hawk.
The problem is, like we've said, the 30-second market's so niche, and it must take so much money to invest into the tooling and all the other bits. Is like, I think they're shying away from it.
Yeah.
Especially Trump, because they were massive on it, weren't they? Like we've discussed this before.
Yeah, that's it.
They were massive on doing the 30 second. They made a right push for it, and I think they don't release anything 30 second anymore. It's really sporadic if we see anything from them, or it's only what they've already got told that they're just doing another version of, like the P40 or the F100. It's never. When was their last new tool? Was the MiG-29s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was their last new tool, and that's how long ago? 5 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah,
so
it would be, yeah.
The Jaguar GR13, it's pretty niche, isn't it? I mean,
it's like a Buccaneer.
Yeah, but
well, it's a few more people had it. You got India, France.
How many Tornadoes Artillery sold? Because we didn't sell many, did we?
Couldn't get away.
Yeah.
Well, you can, but you know what I mean.
Well,
it's not.
It'd be interesting. It's not a big seller, is it? And I can't imagine the.
I bet.
Jaguar.
I bet if you go online now, there's sellers with that 30-second Tornado that are getting it away. Because it's a damp squid. At the end of the day, it's a damp squid, whichever way you want to look at it, innit?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think two things. One, the price is too much.
It's overpriced.
It's overpriced, and again, it is a big lump, and people are moving away, I think, from the big jets. You know. But yeah, that thing with the Jag and the Buccaneer, that's been kicking around now for almost 20 years. So
that's the tone there. GX100 or GX112, oh, that thing. You never see a 30-second Jag, not from, well, I'll be surprised if you do. Especially in the current market, you ain't going to see it. Watch it, but Kitty Hawk's next release. That'll just egg on your face, isn't it?
Okay, so what do we think then about this T6 then?
T what?
Was what I said. The special hobby, a rebox in the Academy T6 Texan with new parts.
What scale?
30-second one.
Well, no. Well, no, it'd be 48, wouldn't it? The only Texan is Kitty Hawk through the Texan, isn't it?
In 30-second.
In 30-second.
Academy's never done one in 48.
Oh, right.
It's an old.
Just what Josh is saying now. He just says, found out today that special hobby, a reboxing Academy's T6 Texan with new parts.
Well, that's the 72nd one then.
Well, there you go.
Well,
we didn't say 48.
I've built a 48 one, which was oh god, they did a thingy. It got reboxed loads of times. Ella's reboxed it, Italia's reboxed it, but it's not their molds. It was somebody else's. And it's all right, but T6 Texan.
They were the last ones to do, weren't they?
Oh, hold on a minute. Have I got right plane? I think I've got wrong plane. That's why.
Are you thinking of the Trojan?
No.
Harvard.
No, I'm thinking of an Harvard. But it's not, is it? It's a different. The Texans, the trainer thing in it.
The Harvard and the Texan. I thought we called it Harvard. The Americans call it the Texan.
Yeah, it's a World War II trainer, isn't it?
Yeah, low wing.
Yeah, it is right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's 72nd. It's 72nd because Dirk's just put it up.
Oh, there you go. Well, it'd be nice to have one. 72nd. Cumbrian Ball said, speaking of blues, I can highly recommend the black thin cement from Guns. Wait, you mean this one? So do I. It's a bit weird because when you use it, it looks like using a panel line wash instead of a glue. But yeah, the SP one, which is the quick dry version, very nice.
Just going back to the T6. Airfix. I think they'll do one.
You reckon? Makes sense.
Yeah. There's enough of them around to get proper CADs off, isn't there? And radar. And we used them. Obviously, there's French used them, and Portugal, everybody used them. So it's loads of scope for,
Yes.
Future releases and decal schemes, isn't there?
Yeah.
Occidental replicas.
That's the one. Occidental replicas. That's the one. And I built the hella boxing of it upstairs because I did a French yellow one with rockets, I think, if I remember rightly. It's all right. At least you can get a camping mask. That's the one I did. Show him. That's the one I've done upstairs with short mouth.
Right.
Occidental replica, and they did a Fiat G91.
That's what they did. Can you see that?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, question. Can you use any of the plastic glues on painted surfaces? Just finished my Revel Tornado and used super glue to attach the undercarriage and the weapons, but I hate super glue. If you're super gluing, I would clear the part, as in sand it back, so you're on plastic to plastics. If you go paint, it will literally peel the paint off to the plastic. So if you're using it, if you're using hot glues like extra thins and stuff like that, then you don't have to worry because it will melt through the paint to the actual plastic underneath and do it that way. But if you are gluing super glue over to a painted surface, you really want to sand it back so you're on to plastic to give a stronger bond, because it will shear the paint off. If you pull it, it will take it off and you'll just be left with the clear plastic underneath where the paint was.
But don't you think, though, like even using hot glue, you don't get a stronger bond on a painted surface than you would with the plastic?
I don't think it personally matters, because if you've ever pulled one apart afterwards, it's just a melted plastic. Because I've done it before. I've glued the wrong bit or something, so I've actually put more weld onto it to melt it to take it off, and it looks clean to me underneath it when they go in. So, but yes, I think it's one of those. It's good practice, like we were saying. Sometimes if you're building kits like Wingnut Wings kits where there's 0 tolerance, i.e. they don't allow for glue, then you need to clean the paint off to be able to get it all to fit.
Yeah.
There you go. Dirk says the 2B has the longer canopy, extended exhaust with cabin warming. You'd need that in Canada, wouldn't you?
There you go. Right. Okay.
Right. Where are we?
We've seen about HKM doing big into the 132nd with the 17 and the 25. Thing is,
but they've learned.
They're bringing them out in 48 now, aren't they?
Yeah, they've learned, and they're dropping the scale to 48.
Yeah.
So, like I say, it's having the room to display them and stuff, isn't it? That's the thing, I think,
Tom Moore says, Revel are getting back into the 1/16 scale. Or are these just reissues, or do you think 1/16 scale will come back to the market? I don't think it will.
1/16 what?
Yeah.
Figures or...
Yeah, figures is, that's all right. 1/16 figures, but...
Again, some of the companies have tried it. That's it, like Merit, which is part of a division of Trumpeter / everyone. Or they're not called Merit anymore. What they call themselves nowadays?
Oh, God. I love kit.
I love kits. That's it. You think that's a classic, because they used to do like the pre-built 16th scale stuff. So they did like a pre-built Harrier. They did a Huey. They did others.
No, they're 1/18th, aren't they? The 1/19th.
Oh, sorry, the 1/18th stuff. Yeah. So it's the big scale stuff. And then obviously it got reboxed by Hobby Boss.
Well, saying that, the F86 Saber's coming back out.
Oh, there you go.
The 1/18th one.
So if you want a 1/18th huge big kits, they did them as a pre-built, then they do them as a kit as well, and they are going around and doing the circuit. But again, if you ever see them, you'll see that you're into that thing. You need to add the detail, otherwise they look like toys. They look like kids' Playmobil.
Yeah, they're very simplified,
they're
aren't
very
they?
simplified kits because they're just so big.
But on the other side of, they're actually very cheap for what you get.
Yeah.
They say Sabres like under £100, which for a 1/18th is not a lot of money really.
No.
So you've got scope to upgrade it. I don't know what you'd upgrade it with, because I don't think anybody 3D printing, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah,
Andy, you need to get going with your 3D printing.
I do.
You do. Where's our Mandalorian? Keep promising us.
He's
still printing. He's been printing it since last Thursday.
It's still liquid. It's like a Terminator.
Yeah, it is.
Still in a bottle.
Yeah.
Carlos says, in his opinion, the sweet spot is currently 72nd. There's definitely been a bit of a revival, isn't it? A 72nd scale this last year.
Yeah.
We've had some really good kits come out, and obviously I built the Hurricane, the Armour Hobby stuff. The 72nd is beautiful, really good detail. So yeah, definitely, I think 72nd and 48th. It seems to be where it's at these days.
Yeah, definite.
48, definitely.
You were just a non-believer, aren't you?
Yeah.
Why are the back of the headlights still in primer grey?
They're not. They're silver.
Do you have stronger glasses?
Flat aluminium.
Well, that looks like primer grey.
Just cheek of it. Is that chap froze again?
Yeah, the Hobby Boss is the 48 scale for the Osprey. Did the review on that last week.
Yep.
One an Osprey and 144. Yeah, I don't think anyone does a 144, do they? So I did the 72nd one. That was nice. Looking forward to the 48th one.
Yeah, I was looking at the 72nd one yesterday, actually, in the cabinet.
Yeah, no, nice kit.
That's that.
It's nice.
Yeah. I say it's a big aircraft anyway, isn't it?
So, yeah, it's not small in 72nd, it's still...
Yeah, it's still
it's not. That's what I was saying, where people were like, oh God, I'm not paying that for it because it's £100 kit. And it's like, I'm not being funny, it's a big lot of plastic. There's a lot going on that. It's not small.
Yeah.
Will PM be doing a pre-order for Revel E-Type convertible? That's the one with the roof, Andy.
Yeah, that's the coupe version. They're doing the roadster, aren't they?
Yeah.
I suppose so. Yeah. Never really thought about it, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll do one.
I'll give you an opinion when I've built this one, whether it's worth it.
Was that Rob Lukuski asking?
No.
No.
That's two will say, huh?
That's two, yeah. Rob will have one.
Richard says, what about a mid-priced 132nd F16? Not too big, lots of users variants. Revell, Tamiya seemed to be the only one. Revel did one years ago, which would have been one of the old block ones.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Back in the day. Sure they did, but they haven't reboxed that, have they? Didn't they do the XL as well, the Delta Wing thing? Prototype back in the day as well.
Yeah,
they did a big one of that as well, I think.
Yeah.
There's a wonder they haven't reissued them, isn't it?
Well, there's still time.
Yeah. Yeah,
if they can find the moulds, there's still time.
Yeah.
The problem is the cost of doing stuff now. You're not going to get a mid-price one because of the cost of how much it would do to design it and manufacture it and distribute it.
Well, you think that F16 that I did, when I bought it at full retail, I think it was £79. It was £80 this one.
Well, that was like 15 years ago.
Yeah, I know. That would have been 20 years ago, I think, when it very first came out. But yeah, when this one, it was like, yes. Back in the day.
Now? £140, is it? So
I was going to say, yeah, I think like they literally, I picked up this version, the normal one, and then I picked up the Thunderbirds one. I think that was £85 at a show. And, you know, they were sort of getting a bit stuck. They couldn't give them away. Now they've just crept up in value over the last sort of 15 years.
Yeah.
You know?
It's part of my retirement fund, my Tamiya stash.
Is it?
Or Shell says my funeral fund.
Funeral
fund. Yes, that's it. We're going to put it underneath him to burn him.
He's going to buy him a wicker basket.
Yes, he's going to sit in a wicker basket on top of his stash, and we're going to torch it.
Yeah. Ed's asked you a question apparently in the Ask Phil Tuesday show.
Oh, is he?
It does amaze me with the Tamiya F16 they've not done anything else with it.
Because Academy did the 2-seaters, didn't they? I think they got a bit.
Academy went down the 2-seat route, yeah. So, yeah. But again, this is one of those things. It's like it's a lot of money, but it's almost a perfect kit.
Yeah.
You know, it's very hard to knock this one. It's lovely in every way. So, yeah. Okay, Ed says, can you give me some guidance on use of rapid thinners versus self-leveling thinners? Is it simply accelerated drying time? If so, using Tamiya acrylics, would you always use self-leveling, or would there be a situation where you would use the rapid thinners? Again, I've been using rapid thinners a lot recently, hence I've gone through a bottle in the last couple of months, purely because if you're not after a gloss finish, which funnily enough I've managed to achieve with it as well, which I didn't think I would. I thought it would come out more satin. But, you know, it's one of those things. It does dry really quick. I think my sort of light bulb moment with it is when I did the VC10, because the VC10, that's a big lump. So I used rapid thinners when I used it for priming, and it literally was a case you could grab the other wing straight away as I was priming it, so that was good. But also I used it with guns, because obviously I used the guns Aquitis with it, and that's prone for taking forever to dry because it's a gloss, and it's a big aircraft as well. So 2 bottles of Guns barley grey later, but I used rapid thinners with it, and it still came out a very nice satin finish because it's a gloss. So it came out more satin than it did gloss. But again, it was a bit of a light bulb moment because I thought this stuff's great because it really does dry a lot quicker than self-leveling thinners. But if you're going back to doing gloss work, like when I did the truck and the various things, I would always use the leveling thinners because it's doing what it is. It's taking time to do gloss work. It's not going to dry as quickly, you know. So, but again, I think it's one of those things. They all have their particular place. But my only thing is, if you were using a flat finish, like say you were using, I don't know, flat black with rapid thinners, I think it would dry really too quick and it might end up looking very almost chalky because it's not giving it any chance at all to dry. So it works really well with glosses and satin finishes, but if you're using rapid thinners with a matte finish, it might dry proper matte.
Well, if you use leveling thinners with Tamiya flats, XF86?
85.
85. If you use rapid thinners, that's more of a satin finish.
Yeah, it's a nice finish. I like that finish. Yeah.
If you put rapid thinners with it, it does go completely flat.
Yeah.
It's my type of sun, like a black hole.
Yeah. So I think rapid thinners with a flat finish may be just too flat. But as you say, if you use like XF85 with self-leveling thinners, it goes to a very nice satin finish.
Thing is, why does the actual Mr. Colour thinners never get mentioned? Because I use that and I like it, just the normal blue one.
So do I. I use it as well. I have it here.
And
to be honest, that's what's in this.
Perfectly good thinners.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the in-betweeny of the rapid and the self-leveling. And people are either, like I say, rapid thinners, but never think to use just the normal thinners.
To be honest, I do think that from a working point of view, the normal thinners and rapid thinners are very, very close, apart from it just dries quicker. But there's no difference in properties to it, if you like. You know, I think, you know, that's it. So if you was to use it, you wouldn't feel any difference in texture. I don't think the rapid thinners, it doesn't make everything dead flat. It just dries a lot quicker. So, but again, they each have their own little area, I think. That's the thing to it. But I like using rapid thinners with primer. You know,
well, that's what it's designed for, isn't it?
Yeah. So, like, I mix it with Mr. Surfacer Primer 1000, which is my sort of go-to one. I really do like that stuff. And rapid thinners in there, it's epic because it dries within 5 minutes. You can sand it straight away. You can hold it straight away. And it goes off really, really well.
Look, Tony's bought some stuff, so thanks, Tony. Andy will be on it as soon as we're finished. And then I might let, and then I might let him go home
to bed.
You better not.
Rob says that the convertible E-Tap's Hellier kit.
No, that's the old one. We're on about the new one, the new Revell one, Rob. You need to bin them over Revell kits off and get the new one. Get up to date with the Revell ones.
We've got a couple of...
Because obviously we champion Revell lots because they are really, really good.
We'll have a couple with your name on them, Rob.
They do some really, really good reboxes.
Oh dear. You're such a cynic.
Just quickly, when Matt mentioned thinning this, he said 50-50. I'd thin it quite a bit more thinner.
You can. I'm just saying a ballpark 50-50.
Ballpark 50, yeah.
I'd probably go 70.
Yeah, 70-30.
70-30, 60-40. But I'm thinking of the safe side for them so they don't flood it.
Yeah.
But yeah, 50-50 is a good marker.
Guys in there talking about obviously the scales, and again I agree, a lot of them are saying about obviously with the scales, and it is, I work to like the 1 foot rule. I think it's quite a nice scale. So obviously if you're doing like a World War I plane, I like to do 32nd because they're a nice size then. And again with 48 scale for modern jets, they're about a foot long in 48. Obviously you get exceptions with some of them. And then obviously airliners and bombers, it's nice to go to 144 because they're still about this big. So that's where I go. I call it the 1 foot rule. That's what I quite like to have them into that scale. And I know up here I've got stupid scales and massive things, but I think it's more of a scale you can deal with. It's not just where you're building in your building area, but obviously you've got the sprues that go along with it. So if you've got some massive kit, you've got massive spruce, so you need places to find them and everything else, and it just gets out of hand. I remember doing these bombers that I have hanging up on the wall. It's that thing that, it's not just, you've got the sails of the bomber, but when you're building it, you've got the sprues that are that big as well. So you've got a box of sprues you're going through, and it does take up a lot of space with it all, especially if you've got 2 projects on the go.
Dirk says the Revell E-Tab is a mishmash of 2 versions. You're not selling it very well for us, Dirk.
Looks like an E-Tab to me. And I've worked on a few. Oh, nearly crushed me Lotus.
I didn't know miles away.
I've
seen the ones that you've worked on, though, that's a problem.
Yeah, they're all a mishmash of versions, the ones I've worked on, they're all cobbled. No, Rob, we're not allowed to sell scalpels. We've not got the paperwork or the health and safety in place to sell scalpels. But just get some, what's it called? Swan Mortons or X-Acto blades.
Yeah.
But actually, we actually don't sell replacement scalpel blades, do we?
We have to be able to prove that you're over 18.
Yeah, and you're definitely not.
Okay, here's a question we get come up every now and again, but we haven't had it for a while. We say, do any of you use ultrasonic cleaners for cleaning your airbrush? If so, what do you use as a cleaner?
No, what a crock of rubbish they are.
I think that's full of shit.
I've tried using one because my wife had one for cleaning her jewellery, and I put screen wash in it, which is supposed to work quite well with it.
Krokov. I bought one. I've got one. There's one actually, in the packing station, in one of the things. There's one shoved at the back there, and I bought one years and years ago when I first probably got back into the hobby, and. I was down that all ghetto to clean your airbrush and don't do anything.
I know, I must admit, I've tried them as well. I just don't get it. I can't understand why people's like, oh yeah, it's made a difference, and mine comes out. I'm like, yeah, I don't get it.
No, it's just...
As for cleaning your airbrush, to be honest, lack of thinners. To be honest, the blue one's very good. Yeah, and to be honest with you, I've got here that Mr.
Tool Cleaner.
Yeah, this stuff's absolutely lethal. Don't ever put it near paintwork because it will just eat it. It's basically paint stripper but thin.
I'll tell you what, Phil,
but I think it's not probably good for your seals and stuff.
Phil, just grab that Mr. Tool Cleaner, put a bit on a cloth, and just show us how aggressive it is, and wipe a bit on the Enterprise thing you're building.
This here? I'll just give it a bit of a rub.
Just a rub and just see what happens.
Seriously, this stuff's like alien blood. It's lethal. It stinks. It's like industrial strength nail varnish remover. But seriously, as for cleaning your airbrush, like I said before, and I've got videos on it you can go and see, is lacquer thinners, blow it through. That's all you need to do. And you think, I do that all the time. But I'm pretty convinced that Mr. Tool Cleaner's killed the nickel effect on my airbrush and stripped that off as well.
Yeah, they don't last long, do they?
So see, sells scalpels with blades, but you can't see a replacement blade. It's mad.
That's just health and safety, mate. It's gone nuts, isn't it? Mental.
Open the door up and look outside, then you'll realise how mad the place is.
Or we're just taking the Michael because we don't stock them. It's more of a case of that we don't stock them to sell them, not that we've gone.
Michael's compressor's died. What would we recommend? TC610. Even though I haven't got one, Matt's got one because he's got my old one, which is now probably.
I don't know how old.
It's got to be 15 years old, that one you've got. It's still fine.
Well, they are if you look after them, aren't they?
And you think how much it goes. Like, literally, I've got the 620 down here, the big one. Don't recommend it. You don't need it. 610's better. Quieter.
So you do an upgrade?
What, me? What, do you need another one?
Well, I ain't got one here, have I? my old Revell one, I think, because I over-oiled it like you did with yours, is proper. I haven't used it for months and months because it's upstairs and it's too cold, but it's one of them that runs and runs and runs, so it's not a thing. I might have to bring that one back of yours and buy myself one for home, I think. So I've got a decent compressor here, unless I fire up the big one.
If I was to buy one again now,
you could bring me one. You've got about 15 of them. Bring me a compressor up.
I'd buy the TC610.
Well, you've got your shushy, ushy, quietest one in the world.
Yeah, he's got this really quiet one, almost the silent one that you can hardly hear as it gently, sort of, just slightly.
So like, got a bit of.
It's weird. I think the microphone just picks up the sound.
Does it? It sounds like you're in industrial. Sounds like the bearings are gone and it hasn't got any.
I've got a big compressor in the shed.
No, a big compressor.
I'd feel you could pull that outside down the.
What, stick it out the back and plumb it in?
Yeah.
I'm sure they love that on the back, the neighbours.
Nice, down
What, the travelling community over the back? They'll be complaining or they'll nick it.
Hey, it wouldn't last 2 minutes, would it? They'd be away. What else you got?
Got two 610s.
You've got two 610s. Do both work?
No, one needs a new tank.
How much a replacement tank?
Don't know. Still got a spare tank.
I have got a spare tank.
Have you really? Why have you got a spare tank?
Well, I've only got the tank bit, but I've got this one, haven't I? Oh God. Let me drag it out and get it out.
To be honest, that revolver upstairs could do with an external tank to keep it.
Yeah.
Just through an hole through the thing here.
I've got that one, haven't I?
Cable with a.
Right.
That's how much was that?
You could plumb your Rebel one. They're about £80, aren't they?
It's about 80
So
quid.
I'm thinking. No, that's seriously what I'm thinking is to plumb an external tank into that Revell one.
Yeah, you could do that. Because that will then just do the on-off switch auto for you.
Yeah, because you plug with your Rebel plugs into that.
That might be an idea, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure about £80.
Tony says you've got one that looks like a Henry the Hoover.
That's my Bambi.
Your Bambi's shush.
Yeah, sorry, the Sparmax, it's the TC610H, I think they call it. I haven't got one here, that's the thing. Because I've got the 620, which is the twin piston, but don't get that one, get the 610. You save yourself some money, it does exactly the same thing.
He donated his second one to PM Models.
He did, that's now...
In your
it got stolen, in other words. They come down here like locusts, I tell you. My stash disappears, goes me compressors. It's like, oh, you're not using that one. Here, I'll have that one. It's like, literally.
I tell you, I bet you're glad we can't come and see you, aren't you?
I know. Well, that's why I've got such a lovely stash and room at the moment. I've been here for a year. It has actually almost been a year since you two came down.
You need us to come down and clear some of your rubbish.
It's a year in February, isn't it?
It'll be a year in February, just before the lockdown, isn't it?
Yeah.
COVID really struck because we were talking about it just before you came down.
Yep. No.
Yeah. Yes, the Bambi compressor. Would you buy another one, Andy?
What, your Bambi?
Your Bambi.
It's. I think I like the size of the tank it's got. 'Cause it's got a big tank, and it is quieter. Is it worth the extra money?
So how much was it?
300 quid, wasn't it?
No, more than that.
500 quid.
Sure, it was about 280, 300 something. I can't remember how much they were. How much they are?
Because the thing is, the 610's not that cheap these days. That's gone up in price.
Yeah.
Right, Jeremy's just put a question up on our chat. Hey folks, using LP11 on the undercarriage of my Kinetic F104, should I seal it before weathering, or can I forego and use AK? Well, just use it. Just weather it. You don't need to seal it, because it's lacquer and you're going to either put enamels on it or you'll wash, so it's not going to touch it. Is it?
No.
No.
Sorry? What was the question?
What I was saying then.
I might have been reading the other one, which is Dino says, what is the best Humbrol enamel paint which matches early Panzer Grey or Africa Corps Sand Yellow? He's got a largest stock.
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you without looking at a sheet. There is one for Panzer Grey. It's 60. No, that's Tamiya, isn't it? I don't know. I can't tell you without thing. They did used to do them authentics, didn't they? The Humbrol authentic colours, where they did do proper Oral M colours and RAL colours and all that. But I don't know. I bet somebody in chat will know. I've got no idea, because the man who would know is not on, because Nathan's working.
That's above my pay grade.
What, Humbrol paint?
Humbrol paint, yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, my mind has blocked that out.
See, a BB-8's got a 9-litre tank. The TC, and they're about £300. TC610's got a 2.5-litre tank. And they're about £100 cheaper. I'd go for the TC610.
Yeah, it don't take up as much room either.
No.
Interesting.
I mean, how big a tank do you need when you're painting a 48 scale model?
Well, this is it.
Really? Even 32nd?
Yeah.
You know.
Decibel rating on that's 54 decibels.
Phil's asked a question. Would it be difficult to make a 1/32 modern US figures look like RAF ground crew figures, as no one does RAF figures for modern day?
Just give them a cup of tea.
We're
back to that again. Holding a cup of tea in his hand, he'll be British.
Surely a pair of overalls is same the world over, isn't it?
I would have thought so, yeah.
Just a different colour? I don't know. Perhaps that's a bit simplified. I won't have a clue. Paul's put, hi guys, I want to update my C6 build this weekend. Do I start a new thread or add to the original post somehow? Sorry, I'm a techno idiot. You have to add to the post.
Yes.
Don't start a new thread, because Andy will be upset. It's C6 SIG. You just keep...
Just post underneath your post.
Don't start a new one.
Yeah. Just keep adding to your original...
Yeah.
Your original post.
Yes.
Not the original post that Nathan put up, or Phil put up, or I put up, or...
Yeah, you're confusing them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't confuse
610
the
or
people.
620, V620. Question mark. So is it?
610's the one that we've got, and Phil's got 620, which is a twin piston one. But it's no quicker, is it, Phil? Than the...
It takes longer to fuel up. Or when I've done tests, there's videos on it. I think we've actually here. If you want to do a review of it, it's down in here, isn't it?
You'd expect it to be twice as quick, wouldn't you? But it's not.
So why do they do it then if it's no...
Because what it is, one of them is twin piston, it runs at a lower RPM, and it's designed to have two airbrushes coming off of it.
Oh, is that the thing, is it? Right, that makes sense then.
Yeah, it doesn't...
What about if you've got like 15 airbrushes like I have?
Yeah, but you don't use them all at once, luckily.
You never know.
The big shop one I've got at home that I'll bring you.
Yeah.
That sounds like a V8.
The 200-litre one.
To be honest, there is a review floating around. Have a look. And I did a direct comparison side by side. It might have been on a Friday show. Again, that's the trouble. Where I actually had the 610 and the 620 next to each other, emptied them both, and then started them up. The 610 was like 30 seconds quicker to fuel up because it's a higher RPM. But again, it's less wear and tear onto it because the 620 is slower. So, but again, I prefer, because I still think the 610 was quieter. And it just ran nicer. I think it runs nicer than the 620. I've got the 620 down there. To be honest, it's the same thing. It's just one's got one piston, one's got two.
I've got Darren's put a thing up. Will the HK48B17F be hit with the same excessive charges that befell the F15 kits? F15 kits? Which F15 kits?
Tiles?
I don't know.
You mean postage?
It should go in the thingy box.
Depends on the size of the box, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a box size and weight. That's why, if that's what you're on about with postage costs, I don't know. It's a bigger box and it's got to go by courier, and courier's charges have gone through the roof at the minute because everybody's using them. So, but the thingy one fits in a normal size. Sort of parcel to go to the post office. So, Wes has put on the bench vent. Is using the plastics around really necessary? I've put mine on. I never had it on, and actually it's made a hell of a difference because it's kind of does draw, your shield, so it draws it out instead of it just going everywhere.
Yes.
Matt did say to me, he said he was going to build one like Phil's got. And I said, have you got the original one? And he said, what, this? And he pulled out the brand new...
I forgot I had it.
The brand new hood.
The hood that was just shoved at the side of me thing and stuck it on, and it actually does make a difference.
Yeah.
So, yes. I mean, Phil ain't got his on because he uses this for filming, doesn't he? So you can't really have the hood on and...
Yeah, you can't see. But I have it here.
Yeah.
Couldn't you do it and make an hole in it so you can see through it?
What? But with the camera? Yeah, but don't forget I've got two as well, so I'd have to have it like that big. But then it's in the shade, isn't it? Yeah. So that's what. To be honest, the reason I run two is because I haven't got a hood. So the idea is that I can be further back and spraying, so it's more in camera angle. But I've got two, so it's all going that way. Yeah. Normally, if you've got a hood, you're spraying into a confined area, and away you go. So. That was the whole point of getting the second one, was just to add more exhaust to get it out. Yeah. Hi team, on the F14A, the white underside is a different shade paint to the wheelbase. Can't seem to find out what the colour. Yeah, it's US Navy insignia white, which has got a different number somewhere. I don't know where my thing is. Hold on. Insignia white. It's different to normal white. So, where are we? It's got an FS number somewhere. Hold on. Let me Bible-y bit. FS 17875 by the looks of it. So it's different to your normal whites. That's what it is. It's got a slightly off white. Would you be able to tell from a scale point of view? By the time you put a wash in your wheel wells, I don't think you would. So to be honest, every time I do it, I just spray it all white. And then obviously, because you're going to be weathering your wheel wells, that makes it a lot more dirtier and different colour to the rest of the aircraft. So that's why I don't worry about it.
Right. I've got a thing here. Jeremy's put up about Great Wall Lobby's F-15s. We're waiting on an order to come in. There's been a problem. We have said this before with the admin side from Great Wall Lobbies. When Gary at Tiger Hobbies put his order in, they cocked it up full stop. So it's delayed the shipment to him, which is now it's going to come in at some point this year. But again, I think I don't know. I can't think of what he told me, but obviously with containers as they are and all the other mess as well, they come in when they come in. They are ordered. He is getting them with a full stock of Great Wall Lobby stuff. It's just when they arrive at the minute. So
it's one of the reasons why we do the pre-orders, because a lot of stuff our suppliers will ask us how many do you want?
Yeah.
So we ask you guys, how many do we want? So we order that amount plus extra for the shop. So we place orders with our suppliers, and obviously they buy them wholesale from the manufacturers.
Yeah.
And the manufacturers have let him down.
Yeah, basically, so, made a bit of a. And again, we're at the disposal really of the manufacturers, aren't we, or are we getting them off? Because if there is a delay, there is a delay. There's not a lot we can do really. It's we did, like I say, we did have a date for them to coming in, but that's obviously changed because they made a cock up of the payment, so they won't release it. So.
Yeah, sorry. Sometimes it's completely out of our hands. That's the thing. And that's one of those times. Definitely.
Also, I've got to say, I ordered some stuff from PM on Sunday 10th. It arrived Friday 15th. Great service. Looking forward to using my new tools. Thank you very much.
It's all right.
It'd probably be quicker if we would have got better postage at the moment.
I don't know our postage is.
I tell you what, our postage is right. I've had a couple of people message me saying that they've put orders in and it's arrived next day. So I had a couple of guys this morning email saying, obviously, I sent out the orders went Monday. We got them today. Thank you very much. Great service. So I think actually the post seems to be getting itself back together, really. So,
yeah. Again, I wonder if it is where you're around the country as well for the speed of it, because obviously, like John said, with social distancing and still in place, isn't it? Nothing's really changed. So, and if you've got staff off who are either shielding or self-isolating or whatever, then that's going to have a knock-on effect for service.
We will get the F-15s back in again, Jeremy. We just don't know when.
Yeah. Hopefully sometime this year.
Paul says by the way on the postman.
Also, is John? You and John can talk posty stuff. Is John still on, or has he gone off? Has he fell asleep?
He's asleep now in front of the fire.
What are you up to?
Kay Nielsen just says, can anyone suggest a good Hawker Tempest Mark V in 72nd scale?
Academy one's a good kit.
Yeah, I'm sure they do a Mark 5. Who else do a Mark 5?
What's the new Airfix one? Is that a Mark 5?
Well, yeah, the Airfix one.
Yeah, the Airfix one will be the one.
Yeah, but is that a Mark 5?
Don't know.
I can't remember what it was.
Does Special Lobby do Tempests? I don't know now, thinking about it. Hella one, Dirk. Surely it's a better one than a Hella one.
Does Eddard not do a 72nd one?
No.
Just the 48th?
48th one, they're not downsized it yet.
No. We say the Airfix one, they're saying in here, Airfix one's on the way.
Do a Mark 5.
The Airfix one's going to be a Mark 5.
Oh, the Airfix one then.
Yeah, I'd wait for the Airfix one.
Yeah, but the freaking screen's gone off again. So we're saying then wait for the Airfix one, yeah?
Yeah.
Because the Hella one, which Dirk's saying is the correct shape, and what's happened to that, Andy? Hey? What? What the hell's happened to that?
Yeah, Dirk's saying that, that they're going to do special. Will be doing one as well.
Just click cancel.
That's it. Oh, they're going to do a Mark 2.
I noticed that you've got a blue door on one, which is the same blue as the other Transit.
Yeah.
I want you to done anything corny enough to put a yellow door on the other one. You didn't.
No.
Should have done.
I don't know what colour blue he used on his Transit. Mine was at XF somewhere 18, I think.
It's not far, though, is it?
It's not actually. You've got to have a blue Transit, or it's just white, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or yellow.
Or yellow.
Mine's an XBT one, clearly.
The yellow one's got a blue door.
And mine's an ex-gas van.
Yeah. It's very similar blue to the blue of his Transit. When you put them both together, I wondered if his blue one had got a yellow door on it.
No, I know one colour. They were really fun, though.
It was. That's the nice thing with those kits. They're so easy and straightforward. You bung them together in half an hour, then paint them.
They just, so to say how old they are, like I said, they're just brilliantly designed. They're just a no-brainer, aren't they? Like you say, they're a really good mojo build as well. I think all the Italeri kits are the old Esky ones, aren't they? So
Special they're doing a Mark 2 as well.
There you go. You'll have it all done.
Yeah.
So you better build your Matchbox one before
Oh, right,
That's
okay.
Mark 5, isn't it? What's your Matchbox one?
Yeah, that is, I think. It's Mark 5. Yeah.
So why is a Mark
2
a newer version than the Mark 5?
Because the Mark II looks like the Seafire.
Yeah, but it's got a different
Fury.
Well, that's what the Sea Fury was designed off, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, different engine though, isn't it?
But why is it a Mark II and not a Mark 6, 7, 8, 9?
Yeah, well, they just went different with that one, wouldn't it?
Back, aren't they? Because it's...
Yeah. What's a Mark 1 look like then?
Well, the Mark 1, in that one with the thingy doors, with the car doors on it.
They do that with a Tempest. I know a Typhoon they did, didn't they?
No, I don't think they did actually with the Tempest. It was just the Typhoon, wasn't it?
James Centre Engine took a bit longer to invent them. Yeah, but why did they call it a Mark II?
Yeah, I don't know that, because that stumped me as well when I first saw it. Because you think the Mark II is the early version,
yeah,
the Mark V's later, but it's not. Definitely bit weird.
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah. Right, we ought to call it there then, chaps, because it's gone 4 o'clock.
Yes. Yeah.
Things to do. I've got paint to get on this. I'll be painting this to get this done and finished.
Andy's got orders to pick before he can go home.
Yes.
Don't press any more orders. Stop orders.
Oh my God, Andy, you'll see it. It's lit up.
Lots of orders. It will do tomorrow, because don't forget, everybody, we'll be back with you tomorrow at 2 o'clock for the PM show.
Yes. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but yeah, we'll find something.
We'll find something to yap about. We always do with these things. Anyway, thank you very much for joining this afternoon. Pleasure as always. I don't know if you just spotted it, but I'll just point out, I didn't mention it. Part 3 of this went up obviously yesterday up onto the site. So members, you can go off. I don't know why that's there. And see part 3 of it, which basically talks about the painting and a lot we were talking about today about glossing, putting down gloss coats and stuff. So I talk about gloss coating with the black to light fast it. And then in the next part, I talk about how to lay down white without getting runs in my 3-step process. With that one, and then obviously you end up with something looking a little bit like that, and then obviously we talk about the different colors to make an off-white, which was what we were talking about as well today. So there's a couple of things all about it. You can see it all down in there as it was getting its coats. So yes, lovely. Right, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Absolute pleasure as always. Big thanks to Andy and Matt as well for joining us and helping out with the show. We will see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock live for the PM show. Yes. Cool.
Yep.
Very good. Yep. Right. Thank you very much, guys. See you again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.